right, Friday, May 13th, day after the NFL schedule release, we found out the Jets will face Murderers Row for the first half of the season with a light second half schedule following their Week 10 bye, or Week 11 bye. The Giants with one of the easier schedules in the NFL, but we are yet to see what that roster will look like. A couple lost players this season, not a lot of expectations for the Giants this year, but with an easier schedule, either of these New York teams can win more games than the other. I think unanimously people believe that the Jets have a more talented roster, more deep roster, but we'll get into all that. We'll also get into who we think are our top 5 players in New York baseball right now, consisting of players on the Mets and the Yankees. Make a top 5 list there. Reese and JD will be with us in a little bit. So just me and Lenny to start here. Looking forward to it, though. Yankees and Mets, 2 of the best teams in the league, right there with the Dodgers and the Angels. So a cool LA-New York storyline. And the Yankees have been rolling after a couple early season blunders. So we'll talk about that. We'll talk about the Mets. But just me and Lenny here to start before we do our schedule predictions for the NFL and review the NFL schedule, what we like about it, what we don't like, teams we like, division winners, so on and so forth. Lenny, how you doing?
Good, doing good. It's been a great week of New York baseball, especially for the Yankees. So ready to dive in, especially Jets Giants too. Like got the schedule released. Some look a couple good weeks, some really bad starts.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. We'll see what we got.
Both teams are still at that point, definitely where you say, couple weeks on the schedule. This is definitely an L. This is definitely, you just know a couple of these games. I think that the Giants, we can debate whether a couple of the bad teams on their schedule are better or worse than the Giants. The Jets are finally at a point, you hope, because we haven't seen this team play yet, but fans hope they're finally at a point where teams like Jacksonville, Houston, Detroit should be wins. But like I said, that's all hope. That's all what the fans want to see because of the roster that's put together. But a lot to find out this year, especially at the quarterback position. So I'm going to get started with the Giants here. Lenny, you could start with what you think about the Giants schedule and your prediction for them after yesterday's schedule release.
Yeah, so I saw it come out yesterday. My first reaction was, I really only see 6 or 7 wins, and that's what I ended up having in my prediction. There's the division is, they should really be able to definitely take at least 1 or 2 from Washington. But they have some really easy games, but you just know they won't win them all. So we'll see what we got. But they do have some tough games, especially I don't see them really beating Philly or Dallas. They never do. So
yeah, I think that similar divisions for both of these teams. So I won't say this twice when we talk about the Jets in a little bit. Both teams have 2 returning playoff teams that I think are once again expected to be the top 2 teams, Buffalo and New England in the AFC East with the Jets, and then Dallas and Philly. I think Philly's a little bit better than New England is. So the Giants have 2 teams at the top there. And then there's Miami and Washington are kind of a similar team where they both have players. Miami may be a little more exciting offseason, definitely a more exciting offseason, but both have players, but you still hope that these teams can split with them at least and maybe take 2. The Giants have had really good luck against Washington. But yeah, I have the Giants with 5 wins, but we talked about it yesterday. I think they go win anywhere from 5 to 7, maybe even 8. Yeah. The schedule is really easy. The best teams on it, aside from Dallas and Philly, are Green Bay in London, Baltimore, which is a home game for the Giants, and really no one else is great.
Yeah, the next other game, the other 2 games would be the Colts and Titans, but those teams don't really scare you that much, depending on if Derrick Henry will be Derrick Henry week 1.
Now, but, if the Colts really, if Matt Ryan really blends there and fits quickly, they're going to be probably a great team. Yeah. But that also is a Week 17 matchup. Who knows? I know it's not the last week of the season anymore, but who knows what the Colts playoff seeding looks like, whether they're in or out of it. So that's a late one to predict now. But yeah, really. And you know how the division games go, of course. If you want to argue Dallas is the best team on the schedule, which they're not, they're probably the second or third most talented team on the schedule. The Giants could still take one from anyone in the division. That's how it goes in division play, unless you're the Jets and you go 0-6 every year. But the schedule's pretty easy, man. It sucks because you wish the team was where they will be a year from now with the schedule.
Yeah.
But, with Dable, and if Dable's a good coach, they'll win. And he could be bad this year and end up being a good coach afterwards. We just saw it with Zach Taylor last year, just a failure for 2 or 3 years in Cincinnati and then gets the Super Bowl, So a lot of things have to go right for a coach to be great. But if Daboll is actually a good coach and the staff is good, which I think it will be, they should win 6-7 games on this schedule. Talent-wise, I don't know if they're better than most teams except Chicago.
Yeah, they're not.
Houston. That's maybe it. They might be better than Washington, honestly. I don't know what to think of Washington. Wentz at quarterback, I don't know how much better he is than Daniel Jones, in all honesty. But you think about last year's Giants team, they won 4 games, and Glennon played for how many of them in that miserable stretch to end the season?
Yeah, it was a good amount, at least 4, at least 4
or 5 games.
Yeah,
they probably win 6 games with Daniel Jones the whole year last year, and last year was a disaster with Jones or without.
Yeah,
so I don't think it's ridiculous to take for the Vegas betting. It's 7.5 for the Giants win-loss. It's 5.5 for the Jets win-loss. I take the over on both if you wanted to. JD and Reese will talk a little bit more about that later, but the Giants could definitely win. Now the thing with the Giants though is if they win 8 games, I don't think they're an 8-win team. Maybe once they add pieces next year, but if they win 8 games, they're going to end up getting a pretty hard schedule next year. After an easy one this year, you're going to get tougher one. You're going to play the third place teams or even the second place teams if you win 8 games in the other divisions. So that next year's schedule can end up being tougher for them because of it'll definitely be tougher, but it can end up being pretty tough because of how easy it is now. But then the Jets get this hell of the AFC, which we knew was coming because you knew who you played since the end of the season. Lenny, you have them at 5 wins this year?
Yeah, I have them at 5. Yep.
Okay, so for me, I have them at 8 and 9, but I'll explain to you my thinking when I went through the Jets. My thinking as a Jets fan, you can totally 100% say, and I'm not even going to argue with you, Zach Wilson's going to suck this year, and I'm sure you're thinking that.
I'm thinking he'll be solid. I just don't know about the defense, and with the division, I only have them beating Miami at home in MetLife.
1-5 in the division.
So I could definitely see them taking one also at home versus New England, but I don't know. Belichick seems to just own them. He's always owned them, so it's tough to take it right now. But definitely, if Wilson is better, they could definitely have 8 wins.
Yeah. So the optimistic Jets fan in me is thinking, how many games does this team win if the defense improved as much as I think, but they were the 32nd ranked defense. So a lot of improvement, you could still be the 22nd, 23rd ranked defense.
Yeah.
But did this defense improve as much as I think it did, adding 2 edge rushers from last year's team? So Carl Lawson, who didn't play last year, and Jermaine Johnson. Maybe they add Larry Ogunjobi from, obviously not an edge rusher, but from Cincinnati. Would help the D-line a lot.
Piece.
Added Sauce in the draft. Other than that, didn't add much defense, but a lot of second-year guys coming in now that were rookies last year. But the thing with the Jets is, how many games does the roster they have, and we're not factoring injuries in, which is a complete terrible problem for the Jets, but how many so I have them at 8 and 9. I know I'm like going all over the place right now. I have them at 8 and 9, actually, also going 1 and 5 in the division. So I don't have a New England split. I thought I did. I don't. Which makes sense because they don't deserve that. How many games does this team win with Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback? Let's say Wilson. That's Wilson making a jump from bad to average. I give him 8 wins if Garoppolo was their quarterback. But
definitely,
I don't know if he didn't show enough for you to confidently say he's going to be that good next year. He's the 33rd ranked quarterback in a league with 32 teams.
And also their start of the schedule, I mean, they got the Ravens, Browns, Bengals, Steelers, They got the Dolphins at home, but then they go to Green Bay, Denver, then New England, Buffalo, and then a bye.
Yeah. So as we go through this, you give the realistic aspect like you did. I'll give the optimistic aspect. So this is my optimistic thinking. Week 2, whether Watson if Watson doesn't play, it's a win for me.
Yeah.
If he doesn't play. And if he does, let's say, you know what? It's going to take them a couple weeks to get this thing going with Watson. So that's the optimistic point for week 2 there. Cincinnati, I have as a win also. I know we've both been a little bit down on Cincinnati this offseason for that division. I
Yeah.
think as we get close to the season, I'm thinking total. Now, Burrow seems like the guy that could be great every year, but I'm
Hmm.
thinking total Super Bowl loss hangover to start the year. Like I said, as an optimistic viewpoint.
Yeah, I have them. I actually have them winning the division. Tied. They
Yeah,
tie with Baltimore, but they win. I think they play week 17 or 16. I have them winning over
yeah.
them
I
for the
have
tiebreaker.
I have Cincy off to a slow start, but 11-6, second place in the division, and the
Hmm.
5 seed in the AFC. So I still have them having a good year, but
Yeah,
slow start. Jets get the win, just like they did last year. Um, Pittsburgh. I don't know. What do you think of Pittsburgh?
yeah. Pittsburgh is tough. I have them just missing the playoffs. They're not. I have them in the Browns at 9-8.
Yeah,
It all depends on who's playing quarterback and if Pickett is also solid. But I just think that Mike Tomlin and maybe Najee Harris might have a better he already had a great year last year, but I
yeah.
feel like he might be more really effective again.
Uh huh.
And their defense, I really like TJ Watt to have another sick
Oh yeah.
year. So I think they
Yeah.
could really win tight ball games where they have Pickett or Trubisky kind of you just got to make the solid throws and just do not turn the ball over at all. And
Yeah.
they'll win games like 17-10, 10-3. Like I think their defense is going to be really good again.
So Pittsburgh for the Jets at Pittsburgh. I'm going L. At Pittsburgh's tough.
Yeah, Pittsburgh
Doesn't
is
matter who
tough.
their quarterback is.
They
At
got
Pittsburgh,
Tomlin. Yeah.
L. They got Tomlin. Salah's not that guy. And they have TJ Watt. TJ Watt will win the game on his own. Green Bay week 6 for the Jets. Interesting one. They
Yeah.
don't have a bye coming from London. I have it as an L, but interesting one if you
Yeah,
want the optimistic view.
definitely an interesting game. Definitely working in the Jets' favor. I think this game will honestly be a little close.
Yeah.
Like you said, they're coming off the bye, but I think Green Bay might turn it on in the second half.
Yeah, that'll be a like Jets will be up it'll be 14-7 or 14-10.
Yeah.
Defense looks good, and then they get a little halftime wake-up call out there. So now the Jets go to week 7, but instead of talking about the actual game, where do you have Denver with Russ?
I have Denver. I have them as 11-6, 3-3 in the division. They come in at right below the Chiefs in the 6th seed. I have them making the playoffs. So I like them over the Raiders and the Chargers. I really think that Russ has really got some really good years ahead of him, and I think they did enough bringing in the weapons. And their defense is still has been one of the best, even though they've been bad for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
But I like them in the AFC West. Not better than the Chiefs, but I like them over the Raiders and Chargers.
So something pretty crazy as I'm going through this. For me, I don't think the Chiefs are going to be worse because they lost Tyreek Hill. I don't
Yeah, I don't think
think
so either.
that doesn't factor in for me.
I honestly, I think they're better. I think they have more weapons,
Yeah.
and that defense. We weren't big on Carl Office, but McDuffie, I think it's really going to have and really surprise people. I think he might end up being one of the better corners in this draft,
Yeah.
and maybe should have went higher than some of the guys that went. But I like what they did they had one of the best drafts. I think Sky
They
Moore
did
too
really
was a
well.
steal.
Sky Moore might replace Tyreek Hill by his second or third year in the
And
league.
everyone forgets Juju Smith-Schuster is like a 1,000-yard receiver almost every year. I mean, he's got Big Ben throwing the ball. It's because he's been banged up, and I think he might have a really breakout year and try to get some money next year. And then, who did they? Oh, it was Marquise Valdez-Scantling.
Yes.
He can't really catch the ball, but he can fly, and Andy Reid will really draw up some plays for him so that he can get it downfield. So
Juju career 2017, his rookie year, 917 yards. 2018, 1,500 yards. That's his best year. 2019, didn't play the full season, had 500 yards. 2020 was his last full season at 831 yards. Big Ben sucked in 2020 and 2021.
He couldn't throw anything past like 10 yards.
And 2021, Juju played like 4 games. So,
yeah.
But Juju, I mean, that is a huge upgrade situation-wise for him to go from Pittsburgh to KC, and then Tyreek Hill to get traded. So he's the number one there.
He's
really.
the number one, yeah. It's him.
Kelsey.
Yeah, it's Kelsey's like, yeah, he's definitely their one. But then the receivers, it's Juju, Scantling, and Sky Moore, or Hardman would be the three.
Hardman, forgot about Hardman. Yeah. That's still a good core for Mahomes.
Yeah. And I forget, don't they have Josh Gordon still? I mean, he hasn't really done
Yeah,
anything, but
I
he's
don't know what his deal is,
still a
but
big body red
if he's
zone.
yeah, I think he is there. I think he's there.
And
But
I
either
mean,
way,
also too, they got Justin Ross. If
yeah,
he's healthy and can play, is one of the better. He might have been one of the better
top
wide receivers in
could have
this
been
class if
could have been one
healthy.
of the first receivers taken in the second round
Yeah.
if he was
So
healthy. So that I totally forgot about him too. Yeah, Chiefs did well. Chiefs did well in the draft. They had a good offseason. They lost Tyrann Mathieu, but they got Orlando Brown back on at least a tag. I don't know if they extended him.
yeah,
But like
they're trying to work it out, I believe.
yeah, they will.
Yeah.
But yeah, so really good offseason for the Chiefs. Like you said, Carl Aftis and McDuffie. We didn't love Carl Aftis, but to get him at pick 30 or pick 28, whatever it was,
Yeah.
you're fine. He's going to be him and Chris Jones should be a good power duo on the D line. Yeah, I like what the Chiefs did a lot. So the crazy thing for me is that I have KC missing the playoffs.
Oh wow.
I have, which I didn't expect. That's not something that I expected to happen. I had just going through the schedule, I had them finishing 10-7 and missing the playoffs. And I had the other three teams in that division going 11-6. Because when you're doing the schedule predictor, you just go game by game. You're not going, and at least for me, I'm not going checking every record as I'm going through, making sure.
Yeah, no,
okay. I'm just going game by game to see how it ends up. And I had them at 11-6, which is a pretty crazy thing to think about. I had them at 10-6, 10-7, missing the playoffs. Everyone else at 11-6, with the Broncos winning the division because they won the tiebreakers over the Raiders and the Chargers. What other division did I want to look at? Oh, so in total, the AFC North. What do you think about Deshaun Watson with the Browns? I have them at 9-8, missing the playoffs.
Yep, I do as well. I have them coming in last. They're tied with Steelers 9-8, so it really does. They both go 2-4 in the division. It depends too. I don't know if he's gonna get suspended. I really don't know what's going on there. I heard that they might suspend him next year. John was saying. I don't know about that. But
the way it's going is his trial it's ongoing right now. But if week 1 comes and there's no decision made, they cannot continue the investigation until after the season.
Gotcha.
So that they're likely going to finish the investigation next offseason, which will suspend him for 2023 games, which kills the Jets. I wish he was going to suspend this, but we will end up getting him next year, week 5, after a 4-game suspension of Borchos. But they either way are coming in third for me though, if he plays all the games or not. So I think Baltimore's great, and Cincinnati.
Yeah, I think Baltimore's great. We'll see with the wide receivers, but I think I think they improved their defense this year. Their O-line will be better, and they got some tight ends, which Lamar loves to throw to. So I still think they'll be good. And then I just feel the Browns. I feel like it just might be like a kind of like that 1 year, just like adjustment year, kind of like Deshaun maybe might struggle a little bit there's the beginning of the schedule is not terrible, but I still think I don't know if they're better than than anybody in their division, honestly.
Yeah, I agree. I think Baltimore, if they stay healthy, the receiving core there, first of all, is so bad. I don't know what is going on with them there. Like maybe Antonio Brown ends up getting plugged in there or somebody, because they got to get someone in. Bateman, cannot be wide receiver 1.
He's got upside, but not wide receiver.
That's why when I'm looking at that matchup with the Jets, if the Jets limited Mark Andrews somehow, it would not be easy. If they somehow limited the tight ends in the passing game, the Ravens' offense, their defense is great. Their offense really is not incredibly scary.
Yeah. It's not. It's definitely not as high powering not a lot of speed at the receiver position. Getting rid of Marquise Brown, but maybe they go after Will Fuller, who's out there. I don't know who said. I forgot about AB. Honestly, I totally forgot he was still out there.
Fuller would be a good pickup, but always hurt.
Yeah.
Not sure. Yeah, not sure how I feel about them. And those running backs. The running backs are great, mainly because of how dynamic Lamar is and how much you have to keep him in check in the run game, on those RPOs and everything, and the different run options. And but let's go back to Deshaun Watson for a second. Where do you rank him because I'm trying to think about how good was Watson when he played. So I'm trying to see, where do you rank him as a quarterback in the league? I'm going to read off some names here, and you just tell me who you'd rather have.
Yeah.
Brady.
Rather Brady.
Yeah. Rodgers.
Yep.
Herbert.
Yep.
Burrow.
Yep.
Mahomes, obviously. Allen, obviously.
Yep.
Stafford.
No, I'd rather.
Okay.
I think I did win the Super Bowl, but I think Deshaun Watson, when he's right, can be a top 3 quarterback. I don't know if he is that anymore, but we'll see.
Russ.
Yeah, I'd take him over Russ.
Okay, so you take Watson. Okay.
Watson.
Kyler, you'd take Watson. I would too.
Yeah, over yeah.
Prescott.
Yeah, I'd take him over Prescott.
Okay, so pretty much here you've got him. Oh, Lamar.
Yeah, over Lamar.
All right, so for you, he'd be the seventh best in the league.
Yeah,
for me, he's my 8.
Yeah, he's definitely top 10, but he's definitely like that for now at least. He's definitely like that 5 to 10.
Yeah, only guy I would take over him that I named is Russ. But Russ is on the fence.
Yeah,
if he has another year like last year, it's not.
Yeah,
it's not Russ anymore. But yeah, Watson was awesome when he played. Man, he was so good. He was so dynamic too.
Yeah,
and I think he led the league in passing. The end of 2020, I think 2020 led the league in passing. Even though they were down, they won 4 games. They were down in every game. They were trying to play catch up every game. But he
was good.
That's a huge upgrade going from Baker to Watson. All right, so let's just quickly run through your playoff seeding for the schedule, and hopefully JD and Reese get in here quick. If not, then let me invite John right now. But if not, we'll just so if you could go through your division winner, or just go through your 1 through 7 seeding in the AFC first.
So I'll go with AFC. I'm gonna go. I have the Bills at 15-2, at 1. Chiefs at 2 are 13-4. Bengals at 3, 12-5. Titans, I got a 4, are 11-6. Ravens are the first wild card at 5, 12-5. And Broncos are 11-6, and then finishing out as the last wild card, I got the Colts at 10-7.
Okay, let me look at mine quick. What about your? Let me just go. I'll go through my AFC actually. Okay. Who'd you have winning the West? I'm sorry, Chiefs.
I had the Chiefs coming in second place in AFC. AFC coming in first place AFC West, second seed in the AFC.
Okay, so AFC, I have Buffalo at 13-4. Baltimore at 12-5, Denver 11-6, Indianapolis 11-6, Bengals 11-6. Jesus, everyone's 11-6. Raiders 11-6 as the 6th seed, Chargers 11-6 as the 7th seed, Chiefs, Titans, Patriots looking in, missing the playoffs, and then I have. My worst team in the AFC, I have Houston 5-12 and Jacksonville 5-12.
Yeah, my worst teams for Jags and Texans, I both had at 2-15.
I have I have the Jets, like I said, at 8-9. So who is your NFC top 10?
Okay, so for my NFC, I got number 1. I got the Packers. I mean, their schedule's kind of a joke. The division, they shouldn't lose the division game along with probably Buffalo. Both shouldn't lose a division game. At number 2, I have the Bucks at 14-3. At 3, I have the Rams winning the division at 12-5. 4, I have Dallas winning the NFC East at 11-6. My first wild card, the 49ers are 12-5. This is assuming. I'm assuming here that Garoppolo is going to play. Are we assuming that Garoppolo is going to be the guy?
I went with Lance for mine.
You went with Lance?
But I really think it's probably. I feel like we've heard way too much negative about Lance.
Yeah.
To consider him the starter. If the way it sounds to me right now is Shanahan wants to start Garoppolo.
Yeah.
But the front office probably wants to start Lance.
Yeah. So I'm going off. It will definitely be different. Probably a little less. Probably like 3 less wins maybe if they have Lance. Okay. So then at 6 in my second wild card, I got Philly at 11-6, and then as my 7th seed. Final seed, I have the Saints at 9-8, and just missing at 9-8, I have the Vikings as well.
Okay, so I had The team that missed for me out of yours was San Fran, but I was doing the Lance considerations. Like you said, three win difference there.
Yeah.
Garoppolo to Lance. So I have the Bucs as my 14-3. I think Brady, this is going to be his last season.
Yeah, I
think
agree.
he's going to go all in, like we've seen him do before, but really go for it. 14-3, just dominate the whole year, that whole team.
Mm-hmm.
And if the locker room knows this is Brady's last season, they're going to be on the same page also. Let's welcome Reese into the stream here. What's up, Reese?
Welcome back, Reese.
Oh, thank you,
welcome. So then I go to my 2 in the NFC is the Rams, 13-4, defending Super Bowl champs. Mm-hmm. Dallas is my 3, 12-5. Green Bay at the 4, 12-5. For some reason, I think they're going to end up being worse than Dallas. I don't know why I think that, but that's just how the schedule fell. I do have them losing one division game to Detroit in the last week of the season.
Yeah.
Philly is 12-5, 5 seed. The Saints 11-6, 6 seed. Mm-hmm. Vikings find their way in first year under O'Connell at 9-8 as the 7. Vikings, a lot of talent there. I want to say that.
Yeah.
And like you said, that division's so easy. Mm-hmm. With the Bears. I mean, the Bears, I think, are the worst team in the league. They are the Bears, and who else did I had two 1-16ers. Yeah, the Bears and the Falcons. I have as 1-16. They play each other. Bears get the win there. Mm-hmm. Those are my 2 1-16 squads.
Yeah.
Worst teams in the league. Falcons get the first pick. Those teams stink. Why is Chicago on primetime 3 times?
Yeah, it's terrible. It's horrible.
Lions got none. Lions didn't even get a Thursday night. And Chicago got 3. That doesn't make any sense to me. But as we wait for JD to do our top 5 New York players, Reese, you got any schedule numbers you want to throw out?
I had a couple interesting ones. I was kind of trying to do this in the middle of a bunch of other things, but at the end of it, I had the Packers atop the NFC at 14-2, and this one's a little interesting. I had the Raiders at 13-3, I think, or 14-3, and I think the Raiders are going to eventually end up being very good this year. I think they might even get the number 1 seed in the AFC. I think that's a stretch, but I like some of their matchups, and I think that if they get hot at the right time, they can really take that.
Yeah, I really like the Raiders. I think that the Raiders, out of the AFC teams, I think they improved the most with Devontae, Chandler Jones. You added a dynamic pass rusher and a future Hall of Fame pass rusher who still plays at a high level, and you added the best wide receiver in the league. That only helps Derek Carr become one of those elite quarterbacks in the league, which he has the talent to do. He can do. And a lot of it comes to whether or not, and let's welcome JD into the stream, a lot of it comes down to whether or not Josh McDaniels is the real deal. We saw him collapse in Denver his first coaching stint, but he got a lot of front office control there after his first year. So that is, roster control for a coach like we see with Belichick now, a lot of times doesn't work. Maybe Belichick makes it work, but we're early on in seeing him with that. JD's in and out here trying to get connected. And McDaniels, I think, will be pretty good here. How do you guys feel for year 2 of Brandon Staley? I know we had some harsh words for him throughout the season. Do we like Staley here or no?
Do we like him? I don't think you can like him.
No, I think he did a terrible job.
Now. I think he's the worst coach in the division.
I do too.
I can get behind that.
Hackett, I think Hackett's going to suck, actually. In all honesty, I do.
I think Hackett might not be that great, but I feel like with Russ, and I like their offensive coordinator with, what is it, Getsy, right? Is their offensive coordinator, I believe?
Yes.
I like that move for them. So I think that Russ and the team could kind of maybe lift him up so that he maybe might be that great, but like the team will be better, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Another thing I wanted to touch on with the Saints signing Landry, I don't know if you guys talked about it already. I think that's a really good team forming if Winston can perform next year.
Yeah, their receiving core now
Michael Thomas and Landry.
And Marquez Callaway, who was pretty solid last year. Mm-hmm. And then Kamara out of the backfield.
Good defense.
Great defense. We know about that defense.
Yep.
I think that the Saints could make a run at that division because of the way they play Tampa Bay in the regular season. They have owned Brady through his 2 years in Tampa. 4-0 in the regular season against them. I think they've held them to under 50 points in 4 games. because they won that 9-0 snoozer last year.
Yeah.
Without
It's like every time they play, it's a snoozer.
every time they play, the Saints just dominate.
Yeah, especially in New Orleans. Brady cannot win
Yes.
I think our friend John's good to go here.
Yeah, let's get him in here.
that. Get him back.
John,
Get him back in here.
John is
What
in.
up?
So let's just quickly go through. Unfortunately, you guys missed most of our scheduled discussion here for a half hour. Quickly, let's go through the two of you, your Jets and Giants record predictions quick.
All right, yeah. So last night I was doing, I was on the schedule predictor and I was doing all that. I unfortunately lost everything, but I remember who I had in the playoffs. I remember the Giants and Jets record. I don't remember. I threw in a few upsets. I don't really remember exactly what every game that I picked, but I did have the Jets at 7-10, just picking every game, and I had the Giants at 9-8. I was a little generous with the Giants because I threw in week 1 upset over the Titans. So I guess it could be really, I like 8-9, 9-8 for the Giants. And I like seven wins for the Jets. The Jets, I'm sure you've already talked about at the beginning of the schedule, is brutal.
Yeah.
So they obviously, for me, got off to a slow start, but I threw in a few more wins in there. I know I picked them to beat the Browns. I think an upset could happen there either way, even if they have Deshaun Watson. So I had the Jets at 7-10. I had the Giants at 9-8, and I do have my playoff teams, but I'll let Reese go first with his Jets and Giants stuff.
All right, yeah. So for the Jets, I have them at 7-10. I have them winning against the Browns and Steelers in those rough first 4 weeks. I also have them going on a 3-game winning streak when they play the Seahawks, Jaguars, and Lions. I think that's the best opportunity for that team to get hot in the late season and make a playoff push if they can. And with the Giants, I have them at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 9-8 as well. So, and I have the Giants starting off their season 2-0, beating the Titans and Panthers. I think they'll do that pretty soundly.
I gotta say, and I'm not gonna come in here like a Giants hater. Me and Big Lenny agree on our records with them.
I know it's coming.
I've met 5 wins. He has them at 6.
I got 7. 7
okay,
and
you got him at 7. But I think we both feel like their floor is 5, their ceiling is 7. I don't know if you feel like their ceiling 7, but I do.
Yeah.
I think the Giants suck. I'm just gonna go out and say it. I think the schedule's a joke. I think it's very easy. So
that's the thing. They play
the schedule's easy, but tell me one quarterback aside from Sam Darnold that you really like Daniel Jones over. There's a couple that you can argue it.
Yeah, the only one would be
I feel like this is his
Wentz,
chance.
Wentz twice, but they're gonna split with Washington
or Drew Lock, but it's in Seattle.
It is in Seattle.
I did take them in Seattle, but I
did
don't
too.
know
I took them in Seattle.
And
I don't think they're better than
Jackson.
Jackson. I don't think they're better than Jacksonville. I don't think they're better than Detroit. I think they're better than Seattle, but not by much. I really think the Giants are going to be very bad this year. And I don't think it's going to be a season like last year where it was unwatchable. I think they're going to be a competitive 5-10, 5-12, whatever it is. And you're going to see some flashes from Dable's staff, but it's just going to be and Tibbs and Neal will be fun to watch, but I don't know. I can't.
I'm going to go through again one more time just to be sure. I want to look
and see where you're coming from too. I just think with a new system, Jones is going to feel like refreshed, and it's a prove it year. And this is as good as Jones I think is ever going to play for the Giants. And I think if there's any chance of him staying, he's got a ball out this year. And if they can, it's hard.
I just don't see the talent with Jones since he's been drafted.
I don't blame you. I haven't seen it either. But what has he been playing with? Like an injured Barkley, shitty wide receivers.
No, he's been playing with bad wide receivers and a terrible offensive coordinator with Jason Garrett.
So bad O-line too. Really
bad O-line. Like this is a
the O-line's been, but I don't. You're going to be upset with me saying this. I know that they filled every spot and they added Neal, who I think is going to be an immediate impact guy.
There's holes. There's holes.
That offensive line. Yeah. The 3 interior positions are up for big questions.
Yeah, I think Glunk. What is his name? Is it Gronkowski? I think he's definitely a little bit better. I think that people give him credit for, but Feliciano is really like a depth guy. Honestly, he'll be our probably starting center, but he's really not a center. And then left guard, Azudu, a lot of people don't think he's really going to be ready to play yet. And then maybe it's going to be I think it's going to be Max Garcia, who's really been like a depth guy. So there is some holes there. I think Neal and Thomas, they better be good or at least solid because those are definitely the strengths, but there definitely is some holes.
And the thing that really concerns me this year for the Giants, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing for Dable, but you guys know After that Jacksonville game, when Buffalo lost to Jacksonville last year, I was incredibly critical of Brian Daboll's offense because I am not a fan of the way that it's run, because you need Josh Allen to be great to run that. Now the Giants could find their quarterback and run it great and find great receivers and run it really well like Buffalo has. But that's just not Daniel Jones, and Saquon doesn't do the things that their running backs were able to do when they were asked of it very, very slightly. Like, there's going to be so much on Jones if they run the same offense they ran in Buffalo, and he is just not going to be able to answer the call. In my opinion, that's what I'm expecting from them.
I can absolutely agree that if they're running the same exact offense they are in Buffalo, there's going to be problems. But I'm assuming, which it could be bad on my part, I'm assuming that Brian Daboll knows how to use guys like Saquon, Wan'Dale Robinson, Kadarius Toney. If they're able to use those speed guys, I think Jones is going to have the opportunity to make throws, the chance to make plays. But it's all on him if he makes it, and if it's all on Daboll is if he gives Jones the actual opportunity to make them.
Because if I was Daboll, I would run the same exact offense I ran in Buffalo. I would not alter it because my quarterback's not as good as Allen. Because I want to see if Wan'Dale Robinson and Kadarius Toney and Saquon, I think, is just gone. But either way, like, I want to see if these guys can run it with Bryce Young, C.J. Stroud, Caleb Williams next year, or whoever else they have on their radar. I'm not changing it, and I think the Giants. I understand why fans can go from anywhere from 7, 8, 9 wins. I totally get that because the schedule's not good. I don't see it with this team because the three best players in my eyes are Thibs, Neal, and Toney, and I don't expect any of them to have that huge impact this year in year 1 and 2.
Hey, Higgy, if you're still watching, I just saw the comments. What are the 4 wins for the Jets if we're 4-13?
I actually have the Jets. As I was going through this, I have them at 8 and 9, and if you want me to, I already stated my case before, so you can go back and watch it.
I would like to hear your case
I'll state it quickly. So I'm not going to deny that this first half is actually an absolute buzzsaw. You get some of the best quarterbacks in the NFL through this first half. But Reese knows from yesterday, I told him I'd rather stack the great teams in the beginning of the schedule because playoff teams, Super Bowl teams play their best football after November starts, after week 8, week 9. Historically, that's when the trend starts to get really positive for those teams. I think Cleveland's a toss-up game. I do. If the Jets are fully healthy, I don't see why they're much worse. And if I go through this schedule, putting Jimmy Garoppolo at quarterback for the Jets, I get 8 wins. I think that's a reasonable expectation for the production of Zach Wilson and the decision-making of Zach Wilson next year. Jimmy Garoppolo, that's an average quarterback. And that is also saying they keep health the whole year, which is a huge question mark for the Jets every year. They could win 5 games. They could win 10 games based on health and Zach Wilson. Also, one more point about the Jets. If Zach Wilson stinks, this team is last year's Denver Broncos.
I want him gone.
But this team is. I don't see why this roster cannot be called a quarterback away if Denver was called the quarterback away last year. I don't see why that is. They have so many similarities. Good young corners. Good defensive line. Maybe not great yet. Jets have to prove it. Not great linebackers. Bad quarterback. Great running back duo. Great young receiving, or really good young receiving core. And the Jets have good tight ends. And the Jets have a better offensive line than Denver had last year.
Yeah, I think with a decent free agency next year, and if Garrett Wilson turns into a wide receiver 1, then there's no way you can't say they're not a wide receiver away. I mean, not a quarterback away. Yeah, I really hope that they're able to develop these guys, and Wilson is able to click with Wilson and Moore and the other guys. I think Breece Hall is going to be great too.
Yeah.
It really is a big year for development for the Jets. I think if they win 7 to 9 games, it's huge and very promising for the future of us. But
yeah,
we win 4 games again. That we know who it's on. It's not going to be on the offensive line. It's not going to be on the linebackers.
It's going to be on Zach being terrible.
If he's a superstar, we should win 10 games.
Yep. If he's top 15, which is tough.
If he's top 15, we got to win 7.
if he's top 15, we got to win 10, I think. Just because there's like 13
15,
really
that's
good quarterbacks in the league right now. But either way, we've talked about the schedule for 40 minutes. Unfortunately, JD and Reese had work, so in here late. Would have loved to have gone through all of it with both of you. But we have the two best teams in baseball reside in New York. So we got a fun little thing that could go a couple different ways here for our top 5 players in New York. JD, would you like to get us started with your top 5?
Of course. Now, I just put this together, and I feel actually pretty good about where I have it right now. Right in this season, I think the top 5 players in New York are Aaron Judge is 1. I think just because he's been so good and so far above everybody else. I have Jeff McNeil at 2. I have Nestor Cortez at 3, Stanton at 4, and Pete Alonso at 5. Those are my top 5. Max Scherzer is 6. Scherzer hasn't been he's been great, don't get me wrong, and he's been so good in the clubhouse. I love Max Scherzer. I think Cortez has been better. I think Pete just does so much for our offense. We're missing that big bat, and I think so much of it is put on Pete. I think Stan's been so good. Judge has been so good. Obviously, we saw it last night. And I think Jeff McNeil is over Cortez and everyone else just because he does it every day. Cortez is every 5 days. He's a pitcher. And I if there's one guy you want up in like a bases juice scenario for the New York Mets, I feel like Jeff McNeil is that guy.
Absolutely.
I always feel so good about him at the dish. He's been so good this year. He slaps the ball everywhere. He hasn't been hitting for the power, but we don't want him to hit for that power because when he was trying to hit for that power, it's when he was stinking. So I think McNeil's been so good. Obviously, Judge has been so far and away better than everybody else. So I have Judge, McNeil, Cortez, Stanton, Alonso is my top 5. I'm interested to hear what you guys have to say. Again, I did just put this together right before we got on here, so I could be just blatantly missing somebody that I'm not even thinking of, but that's what I got in my top 5 right now on May 13th this year. Those are my top 5 players in New York.
All right, Reese, what do you got?
All right, so number 1, I think we're all going to agree that it's Judge.
Yeah.
But this is I'm a little different from JD here. So at number 2, I have Scherzer. Just watching him pitch for the Mets, it's almost like he juices the lineup. It's like these guys are confident when he goes out there. It brings a spark to our team. It's almost like when DeGrom's on the mound. It reminds me of that, the energy in the stadium and everything about when Scherzer's on the mound. I love what he brings. Then I have McNeil at 3. Like JD said, Mets most clutch hitter. He bats for average. He pokes on when he's shifted on. He's just a joy to watch. Then I have Cortez at 4. He's been pitching out of his mind this year. Big part of why the Yankees are probably the best team in the MLB right now. And at number 5, I have Pete Alonso. He's the big bat, like JD said, the Mets need all the time because we have not been a home run hitting team this year, and we've needed some clutch at bats, and Pete's brought those in. So those are my top 5. An honorable mention for Stan at 6, though. That was tough to leave him out.
All right, Lenny.
Yeah, so mine, Aaron Judge, best player in New York. I think he's been in for a while. No offense.
Whoa.
I think he's been the best player in New York for a while. I'm not kidding.
Are you forgetting who's out right now?
DeGrom.
Mr. MRI's out.
Yeah, but when he's on the field, you know he's the best player.
I mean,
No,
far away.
He doesn't play every day.
Okay, you can make that argument, yes, but he is one of the best pitchers I've ever watched.
I have Aaron Judge at 1. Max Scherzer's 2. I think without Max Scherzer, the Mets are nowhere near the team they are right now. I think he's just picking up for DeGrom right now and really just gives even if he's not at his best, he gives you 6 innings every outing. Yeah. He's juiced up. Big part of that locker room. I honestly think, too, he's big part of the coaching staff. I think he makes a lot of decisions with Buck, and they really talk, and Buck really likes to hear what he says about it.
Yeah, he's huge.
At 3, I got Alonso. I think with Alonso is just huge because, honestly, without Alonso, I don't know if the Mets have any other player that's going to hit 25-plus home runs. I really like Alonso just in that order, just cleaning it up, doing what he does. Then I got Jeff McNeil at 4. 4. McNeil is just back. Once I heard it the other day, he's not trying to hit home runs, and he's just doing what he does. Take it the other way, loop it into center field, hit doubles, and when he does hit his home runs, they just get out. and it's just a big. He always hits a big home run, and like you said, JD, that's the guy you want in the big spot.
Mm-hmm.
And then at 5, I have Stan for me. Stan, he started off a little slow, but I still think he's definitely a top 5 player in New York. He's had a big night last night. That he's been starting to pick it up lately, and he's always in a big spot. Stan is also like that guy. You don't want no one wants to face pitch to him. And then my honorable mentions would be at 6, I'd have LeMahieu, and at 7, I'd have Brendan Nimmo.
Yeah, Nimmo
Yeah,
is a
Nimmo
good
was one that I
too.
didn't even.
So far, no wild cards have been thrown into the mix. I don't have any either. So my one is Judge across the board. I think he's been the best player in probably baseball so far, position as far as position players go. Alonso is my 2. Talk about him in a second. McNeil 3. Great to see McNeil back, swinging level,
Yeah.
launch angle eliminated.
And he does it from everywhere in the lineup too. Like
Yeah.
he's in a different spot every day, and
He's
all he
Yeah.
does is
He's
hit.
just a tool guy. You can put him
Yeah.
in left, second, anywhere.
Yeah, he plays left so well too.
I have New York's ace at 4. Of course, that is Nestor Cortez. I do think he's been the best pitcher in New York this
He's been
season.
great.
He's certainly been the
season,
best
I think.
Yankee. I understand Scherzer's clubhouse, and obviously Scherzer's been great on the field too. That's not
Mhm.
taking away from
Yeah.
what he does on the field. I understand how valuable he's been to that clubhouse though this year. He'd be my 6 on this list because I do get into the Scherzer does it every 5 days. Stanton comes up big for the Yankees just about every other night this season. Big hit. He's hitting a lot more base hits this year, a lot less strikeouts. And of course, he's got the long ball. So let me ask you guys, Reese and JD, on the topic of Pete Alonso. Lenny mentioned it. He's really the only guy on the Mets that feels like he's a guarantee for 25 homers. Does that concern you guys at all?
It doesn't. It doesn't. If Buck wasn't our manager, it would concern me a lot more. He loves playing the small ball, getting base hits, bunts to advance the runner. But it does concern me that Lindor isn't playing to the ability of hitting. It doesn't look like he's going to hit 25 home runs this year. I haven't really.
I still think he does. I still think Lindor hits, but he's not a lock like
I
Pete.
don't think it's a lock, and I think like Len said, Alonso's the only guy I can confidently say on this team is going to hit 25 bombs. But I wouldn't say I'm concerned with it. I think we're a good enough team that we can win games without hitting hundreds of home runs. But I would like to have one of these guys, maybe Escobar, Marte, just come out and start swinging.
Escobar needs to be better. And you're not going to get power from Marte, but you're going to get runs driven in and base hits and stolen bases, extra base hits. It doesn't worry me yet. 1, because they're winning. 2, because they're so good at situational hitting. And 3, because if they really do need that big bat, that they're going to go get it in August at the deadline because the Mets front office is all in. Their ownership is all in. This team is all in. If they need a big bat by the end of July, early August, I know the deadline is like August 2nd this year. I think they pushed it back. They're going to go get it. There's a few names we've thrown out there. I love like Josh Bell as a DH, like just someone like that who can be like your 5 hitter and behind Pete and really, smack 25, 30 home runs. I still think, even though the bullpen's been really good, I still think that's the biggest need. So no, I'm not too worried about the offense's lack of the home run ball. I think it's good that they can really win games without it. And I think, guys like Escobar and hopefully Lindor will give you, hopefully, I hope 20 home runs because they should. Those are your 3 and 5 hitters in the lineup. Waiting for Escobar to turn it around because it's really been disappointing the way he's played. It just seems like he's an auto out almost every time up there. In the beginning of the year, he was working a lot of good at bats, working walks, which he usually doesn't do. So I'm hoping to see him start hitting for more power. And, Canna said he's starting to try to hit for more power, and we saw it the other night. He only has 2 home runs, but I think Canna can be a 15 home run guy. And if he hits 333, you don't have to hit 50 home runs for us because he's just been so good. So no, I'm not worried yet. As long as we keep winning and scratching out runs and playing small ball, stealing bases, it's all good until we hit that rough patch and everyone starts to panic. But right now, all is good in Mets land on the offensive side for me.
And I did want to touch on just the performance of Walker and Carrasco have been really key to the Mets' success as well.
Yeah, the
And I think
rotations
you
for
can
both
credit
rotations.
a lot of that to Bassett and Scherzer. I believe that these guys have done a lot to help convince Walker and Carrasco, build it back their confidence, and show them little things like just the experience of these two guys who have pitched elitely for years. I think is bringing a lot more to the Mets than we could have even imagined, and I'm really happy. I couldn't be happier to have those two guys on our staff.
So, I'll give you my Mets concerns, and you
Sure.
can shoot them down after. JD, I do actually love what you said, though. Very level-headed, and Reese too, but JD said it first. Just very level-headed opinions on the long ball, and it's the second week of May. This is not
Yeah.
something to start freaking out about. But I think, knock on wood, we are rooting for two teams that will be playing in the postseason this year.
Yes.
They're too good,
I'd
the
be well
teams.
shocked if they're not.
The two teams are just too good. This is a rare time where you can really say that about teams and feel great about it. Because even in LA, you can't say that about both teams because the Angels, you don't know yet. But the Yankees and Mets, their pitching and their lineups have produced to a point where you feel really good that both these teams will be in the playoffs. So with that being said, get to the postseason, and this could go for both teams in two different ways. The pitching is obviously a lot better in the playoffs. Bullpens are better. Starters are better. Hitters are typically worse in the playoffs because of the pitchers being better and the lights are so bright.
Especially if you're playing the Dodgers, too, who have the
Yes.
best rotation in baseball.
So with the Mets, I looked through their lineup, and Lindor could totally turn it around. So I'll give you two guys right now that I would be worried about changing the game with one swing. And that's Lindor and Pete. And then the Yankees, I could talk about, on the other hand, how I'm still concerned with their situational hitting ability and their ability to do what the Mets do and hit 3 straight singles and score 2 runs off it. And great base running like the Mets have, even though Luis Rojas has really brought something to the base paths this year.
Flexing those muscles at 3B.
But
sure.
I get really concerned with the Mets bullpen and inability to hit the long ball if the postseason was tomorrow. I think it all gets addressed at the deadline with Nelson Cruz, Josh Bell, and a reliever, or maybe 2 or 3 bullpen arms. And in the playoffs, Carrasco is probably coming out of the pen in the postseason. So you got one good long reliever there.
If all goes right, hopefully.
Exactly.
Yeah. Another good long reliever we have is Drew Smith. He's been pretty.
Drew Smith's been very good actually.
He goes 2 or 3 innings sometimes. So Buck seems to trust him a lot. He's been throwing him out there a lot.
He's our second best guy.
Yeah, I mean Diaz just great too.
Both of these teams have abysmal catcher positions. JD, do you think we see Alvarez this year?
No, he's hit too much of a wall in the minor leagues for us to.
Yeah.
He's struggled. He's seen a lot more breaking balls.
Yeah.
Definitely. I think teams are starting to learn how to pitch to him, but he's so young. He's only played like a little over 100 minor league games. It's not time yet. Even like McCann just got hurt and Mazik is called up. No Mets fan should have been expecting Alvarez because it's just unrealistic for us to see him this year. And maybe he gets a crack at it at the start of next year for sure. But McCann and Nito are abysmal at the dish, but
so bad.
I don't know. Yeah. I don't like them, but
you can't improve it. You're not improving
awful.
anywhere. There's no one to
There's not
improve
many
with.
great, real good catchers in the MLB anyway, so it is what it is.
Yeah. I was saying to Lenny last week, unfortunately we didn't have you two, but the only guy I would actually, not even saying, obviously there's great catchers, there's a few great catchers in the league. The only guy that could even be possibly available that I would upgrade with is Real Muto because of his ability to field. The Yankees went from Gary Sanchez to these catchers now, and the pitching staff's been excellent. You don't want to lose that ability to field.
Yeah,
it's so crucial at the position. And both these teams are lucky enough to have 5 guys that can really hit. And then you have the, 6 to 8, which I think both teams can work on at the deadline. But you can sacrifice that catcher position. So not a major concern. Bullpens for both teams have been slightly concerning. You want to talk about that for a second? Len, what's up with Loizaga, dude? Terrible.
He is missing with that sinker. He's not getting it in and he's not keeping it low. He's leaving it a lot over the plate. Saw it last night too. It looked awful. The command on the sinker and two-seam fastball is horrible. And he's starting to just leave him more over the plate. And he's been bad. Everybody knows about Chad Green. I hate Chad Green.
Yeah.
I was gonna Venmo everybody $5 if he blew the game last night because I was about to live bet it. It's almost the biggest lock. He sucks.
Seven run lead in the eighth.
He should be DFA'd. I told my dad not to go to sleep because Chad Green is horrible. He's horrible. He is 94 up in the zone does not work in 2022 anymore.
No, it doesn't.
That's Meatball City. That's straight biscuits. Chapman Chapman is getting lucky as hell.
I don't know.
In that Texas game, he threw no strikes at all with the fastball, and he's throwing this slider at 84 right down the middle.
Yeah, the
He's
slider
lucky
sucks.
that game didn't get tied. And same with the Toronto game too. He threw a lot of good pitches a lot of bad pitches that should have been hit by Vlad, and Bo hit one foul. Those three are definitely the most concerning in the pen, and usually Loizaga is not. Usually Green the last couple of years has been bad, and Chapman's always okay, but he always falls off. But
has his
Loizaga
ups and
last
downs.
year only gave up 3 home runs all the year, and he's already given up 3 this year.
Edwin Diaz is the best bullpen pitcher in New York.
I love it when
Him
He's
or
been great this
him or
year.
Clay
He's so
Holmes.
good.
Clay Holmes
Clay
has been
Holmes
good.
is
Clay
very
Holmes is
good.
good too.
Yeah, but Diaz has been that's the guy you traded for. You guys must really be sweating giving up Kelnick though, man. Got option today
Yeah.
to AAA.
Yeah. I haven't kept up with him. I don't know. I'm assuming he's
Huge
playing.
strikeout from Scherzer. Side note, before we continue the bullpen conversation, the slate in everything, NHL, NBA, and MLB tonight is loaded. Like there are
Oh,
so
yeah.
many elimination games. There's so much going on. I can barely keep up with
Rangers
it.
are down 2-0 right now. So
Yeah,
Yeah, I
if
think
you're
they're
not
how
watching the hockey
unfortunate.
playoffs, you're missing out because the hockey
Yeah.
playoffs
They've
have
been
been
great.
great.
We got
The
Every
NHL
series
playoffs
has
are
been
Edmonton
great.
Kings tonight. Edmonton Kings is that game 7
Tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yep.
There's 3 game 7s tomorrow.
Yeah,
3 game 7s.
Beautiful.
Boston versus Carolina.
Tampa, Toronto,
Tampa,
and
Toronto is gonna be
Edmonton,
really good.
LA. But to continue the bullpen conversation, the Kelenic, it's unfortunate he got sent down today because I'm sure Mets fans wanted to get their first look at him, and he hasn't been great. I won't always. This is the Diaz we traded for, but the value that we gave up, like at the time, was still so much more than what we got back. So it sucks that we lost him, and Seattle probably rushed him. But yeah, this is the Edwin Diaz we got. And I'll say, since Kelenic's only 22, if Edwin Diaz closes out a World Series for the New York Mets, that's the moment you can officially say that they won the trade. If he does that, that's when you can close it. The Mets won the trade. But right now it's so early on
Yeah.
Kelenic
It
that
Yeah,
even though he's been so bad, he only played like 100 something minor league games before they called him
Yeah.
up. So we'll see when
Yeah.
when they get his next when we get our next look at him when Seattle
Mhm.
calls him back up, whenever that may be. But
Yeah, he's at-
Julio Rodriguez has been raking for them.
for
so-
reference,
Yeah.
through 123 games in his MLB career, which, like you said, JD, probably wasn't ready for when he
Mhm.
came up. Through 123 games, Kelnick's hitting 173, 53 RBIs, 73
yeah, that
hits.
hasn't been pretty.
So he's
and
been
if this-
bad.
If this was happening in New York, the poor kid would be just getting laid into.
Yeah,
But
he
Oh,
shouldn't
yeah.
have been called up till this year.
yes, I agree.
Mhm.
And then I think too, it'll depend. I think the Mets this won't be an issue, but if you bring Diaz back, if Diaz is not a Med next year, which we all think he will be,
Yeah.
then
He
I
is
think
a
it would
free
be a
agent, that's a
loss.
good
If he was to leave, I think you'd probably lose the trade just because he was only here for what,
I
2
think
3 years.
Diaz is definitely a likely in-season extension over like Brandon Nimmo and I can't think off the top of my head who else is a free agent after this year, but it seems like Diaz could definitely get a deal done. There hasn't been much talk
Diaz is
about
the
it,
most you can ask for.
but I could totally see like one of these days, like just a random just summer afternoon, Edwin Diaz with 5 years, however much. I don't know what the closer market looks like, but
Yeah,
he's
Chapman makes like 17 or 18 or 19, so I'm assuming
Yeah.
around there.
Diaz has been so good, and it's to the point now where like I'm finally like my heart's not like I'm not going into cardiac arrest every time he comes into the game.
Yeah, dare I
Um,
say
Yeah.
I'm confident.
There's always the risk of
Walks out
him
there.
missing the zone and just flat out walking the house, but that hasn't happened in so long.
It just
that-
doesn't. It feels like he has control on these pitches that he didn't last year. He would hang that slider.
His
all
slider is so
last year,
good.
and now
His
it's
slider is so good, and he paints 100 with that fastball. So
He's been great. He's really
Yeah.
been fun to watch.
He's been
Best
nothing
closer
short
in the
of-
league so far
yeah.
this season.
But besides Hader, because
Yeah,
Hader,
Yes.
Josh
Hader
Hader is just
separates himself.
Yeah.
is
He's
just
on another level.
totally
Mhm.
just something like we've seen it because we've seen Mariano Rivera, but
Yeah,
Josh
but
Hader
Hader
is
just-
absurd.
different type of watch because Hader is he just overpowers lefty. Like Mariano was like a clean, polished Yankee, threw one pitch, threw it great. Hader's just a beast. He's just a ferocious figure on the hill where Rivera was not, even though Mariano's the greatest to ever do it. Just two different experiences. Like Scherzer and DeGrom are two very different types of pitchers to watch. DeGrom might be better when he's playing. Scherzer's not far behind, and
Yeah.
Scherzer's more enjoyable for me to watch because of his energy that he brings, and that's Hader. Hader's the energy guy in the Mariano conversation. But to talk about Diaz on that extension, JD, you probably have DeGrom as a free agent next year.
Mhm.
So they'll have DeGrom, who's I still think is a must re-sign.
I think so.
Yeah, yeah.
But
Bassett,
But if you re-sign Bassett, DeGrom,
There-
Oh,
like,
I'd be nervous.
there is a scenario, a like slim scenario where you roll out. You're fine rolling out Max Scherzer as your ace next year and Chris Bassett as your 2. I still think DeGrom's
sorry.
back. Don't get me wrong.
What's this guy Jesse Winker's issue?
Yeah,
I-
Jesse Winker did just
oh
tie
my
it.
god!
Jesse Winker did just tie the game. It's 1-1 after mid-4.
Yeah, but did you see him like flip the bat and like
Yeah.
wave to the Mets crowd? He's so
the Mets
petty.
fans are probably booing him. I'm not listening with volume right now, but they're probably heckling him as he's at the dish. And the Rangers, I think, tied it 2-2. So
no, of course.
of course.
Wow.
I
Yep, me
haven't
too.
seen who scored. I haven't seen what happened, but I
Better
did-
Judge
Rangers
boys.
fans, by the way, scumbag, Trouba,
Yeah.
dirty hit. Don't try to talk about it. Don't
robbed
say
us
it's
with
not. Come on.
Crosby.
Yeah, Zibanejad had 2 goals.
Oh, of
Zibanejad
course.
had 2
I
goals.
think that's like his first goals of this playoffs.
Woohoo.
And then zip.
So, Mets re-signs. You have Bassett. I think
Mhm.
you probably
like
should, even though he's going to be 34.
like a 3 at 60. I'd
Yeah.
say.
Bassett, DeGrom, Diaz, Trevor May,
Nimmo.
see ya.
Yeah.
Yeah, Trevor May.
Nimmo,
Thanks.
and then like Jankowski doesn't really matter
Yeah,
in the conversation
Nimmo's
of
been
re-signing
so good
guys.
too.
Taijuan Walker's gone.
Yeah.
After the year. But yeah, so if it comes down to Bassett, DeGrom, Nimmo, which 2 or Bassett, DeGrom, Diaz, Nimmo, which 2 guys is the top priority for the Mets? Say DeGrom pitches from August to October and like regular DeGrom.
It's tough.
August.
I don't know. That's so tough.
That's brutal.
If the Mets are going to have a lot of keeping their own guys, rather than going and hitting. They may sign a free agent or 2, but it's not going to be anywhere near like they did last offseason.
Oh, get out.
What do we got?
Standing.
Higgy's-
2-run shot. Higgy, I'm American Idol. I'd win American Idol. I'm just saying. Don't talk about Brennan Huff.
Yeah, so it's going to be a lot going on for the Mets trying to keep their own guys this
Yeah.
offseason.
It's really tough to like rank 2 guys over Nimmo in priority.
Yeah, I think Nimmo.
Nimmo sets such a tone for the offense when he's on.
and
He
he-
reminds me of
it's like he gets on
LeMahieu's
base
role
every
with the
time.
Yankees. When
Yeah.
LeMahieu hits, the Yankees hit. When Nimmo hits, the Mets typically hit.
Yeah, it's so tough. I like.
That yeah. It's
I
a
think if
real
you're looking at a DeGrom extension, I think it's literally like the same
Same
thing
as
as
Scherzer.
Scherzer's.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think you're almost paying him for past, to be honest.
Yeah, and we'll see if he does
See
anything
about the
this year.
future, but I don't know how healthy DeGrom's going to be come down the road.
Winker
Yeah,
is
DeGrom's
awful,
tough.
man.
I still
Man.
don't think we're seeing him till July.
I think
agree.
at least July. Yeah,
I agree.
I think Buck will keep him for a couple extra weeks too. He might wait till after the All-Star break. Just as the Mets have no reason to rush him back now, not hovering at 500, needing another starter. And they got a fairly comfortable, which is a surprise, but fairly comfortable lead on the division early here.
Huge lead on the division.
So the Braves are going to make their run. You know it. But
look, the Mariners learned not to shift on Jeff McNeil. Like what are teams doing shifting on McNeil and Nimmo? It's not.
The shifts are bad all around baseball. It's horrible. The four outfielder, it's just ruining the game.
This is like there's no reason to shift on. I know you're the Seattle Mariners and we haven't played you in like a bunch of years, but
how is this their first time at Citi Field? What?
I know. How is that even real?
Yeah, it was the first time for Baltimore playing
St. Louis.
St. Louis. They said it was like their first home run.
How does that work?
Since like 1950. And they were like they were the Browns. They weren't even the Orioles.
How did the schedules align that they never like play?
Yeah, that won't happen now ever again because
next year it'll change.
Because every year you play every team. So we got 2-0 Yankees right now. Top 1-1 Mets, Seattle, bottom 4. Do we want to depart here? We've given it a good hour, unfortunately for you guys. Only a half hour.
I'll just go through quickly what I had for my NFL predictions. Just my playoffs.
What do you guys want to go through the playoff predictions? Like
I'm not going to pick every game.
I just got to redo it. Like I'm going to post mine, but I butchered what I was doing.
I'll give you the 7 teams I have in, and then I'll spoil the Super Bowl for you. So you don't even have to watch the NFL season.
I already know what he's saying.
But
you don't have to watch the NFL for me. You don't have to watch. You don't gotta watch.
So in the NFC, quickly, I have the 1 seed just based off picking every game. I had the Bucks as the 1 seed with a tiebreaker over the Packers as a 2 seed because I do think there's 0 chance the Packers go into Tampa week 3 and win because Florida is a nightmare for us. Yeah. It always is.
Yeah, Rodgers doesn't do well there.
We never win. I also had us losing to the Dolphins in Christmas, even though we probably should beat them. Really? But it's a nightmare in Florida. So I had the Bucks 1, Packers 2, Rams 3, Cowboys 4. That's pretty basic. There's going to be not really many surprises here. 49ers 5. I think Debo plays. If Debo doesn't come back, I think it changes things. I think they should roll out Jimmy G maybe for another year. There's reports about Trey Lance. Who knows if any of them are true. Saints. I really like the Saints. I think I have the Saints as a 6 seed.
Yeah,
and then the Cardinals. I don't love the Cardinals, but just the way everything fell, I had the Cardinals as the 7 seed with the Eagles and the Giants on the outside. And then in the AFC, which is where things get dicey because there's a lot of good teams in the AFC, and good teams are going to miss the playoffs. I have the Bills as the clear-cut 1 seed. I think the Bills are just so good this year. And the Ravens as a close 2 seed because I really like the Ravens in a bounce-back year. Chiefs 3, Colts win their division at 4, Chargers 5, Bengals 6, and then I have the Patriots. The way it all fell, I had the Patriots at 7, beating out teams like the Broncos, the Raiders, and the Browns. Voice crack.
No Chargers, right? No Chargers?
No, I had the Chargers at 5. I think the Chargers. I think the Chargers are really. I think the Chargers win like 11 games.
I have them out, and Mr. Sweater Vest, Brent Staley's gone after this one.
I wouldn't be shocked because we did rip Staley a lot last year. I just think the Chargers roster is so incredibly good, and the way the cornerback market is, that J.C. Jackson contract was a steal. I don't think J.C. Jackson is by any means the best corner in football, but the way the Xavier Howard contract just reset the whole market, it's going to be impossible for teams to sign corners, just like the Christian Kirk contract did to wide receivers. So that's what I got as my 7 teams, and it could change a few weeks before the NFL season. We'll probably do this again in August.
We will.
And then if you already want to know the Super Bowl, what are we, May 13th? The Super Bowl is the Bills and Packers. So there's a spoiler. We don't even have to watch this season. I'm falling for it again, and I'm so roped
all year.
What's your NFC Championship game?
It's got to be Packers Bucks.
Packers
It
Bucks.
isn't.
That's what I had.
It
But
is
you don't
until,
got the GOAT winning again.
no. You know,
I mean, I got the
I'm
GOAT.
sorry,
I don't even think. I think if
John-
I can't see any way Brady's not winning the game.
John, you know I hate him, man, but there's no way Brady doesn't ride off into the sunset with number
I know
8 this
And
year.
This is
There's
gonna
no
be,
possible way.
I'm just so done with Tom Brady. I really am. I'm so sick of the Bucks. I was so happy when he retired. I really was. I was so just at peace. There was one team we got to worry about in the NFC, and it's the LA Rams, because obviously they're the champs. So I was like, don't have to worry about the Bucks. Don't have to worry about Brady. And then just like that, we should have seen it coming, because there was no way he was going to go out like that with that shitty retirement. Shefty ruined it for us.
Yeah.
He ruined the announcement. Brady was like, F you, I'm coming back. But I'm falling. I always do it. I thought last year was the Packers' year. They always prove me wrong. They always choke. Last year, I was a little more skeptical, but they were so good in the regular season. I was like, how is this not the year? I think the offense is just, it might work better without Devontae Adams.
I think
As
it is.
crazy as that sounds, I think their focus needs to be running the ball, and they have such a good offensive line. Rodgers is at his best when he's surgical and spreading the ball around to everybody.
I
He's
feel
at
like
his.
I feel like LaFleur needs to put a priority on running the ball. I know Rodgers is
Yes,
the quarterback.
he does,
but if
and
you
you
run
know
the ball
Rodgers.
successfully,
Rodgers is going to
Rodgers-
audible out sometimes, which is what it is. He's Aaron Rodgers, but his downfall in the playoffs is that he's keyed in on Devontae Adams. That's just something. If he's not doing that last year, they beat San Fran. Also, Rich Bisaccia, I knew the special teams was the one downfall. Reese, I was telling you all year that they were going to lose a playoff game because of the special teams. Now, while the offense sucked, they still definitely should have won that game. I just have such. They're just. I don't know. I just think even without Devontae, they're just such a well-rounded team now with a good special teams. They allocated a lot of some late draft picks. They had like 4 7th-round picks. They used a good bit of those on special teams, guys. So I could definitely be drinking the Kool-Aid again and falling back for it. I just need to see it.
The only thing I can really see is if Rodgers finds another guy he keys on, which I highly doubt at this point, because nobody is half as skilled as Tay is on that team.
I think they're a lot better off though without having that guy for him to key on, because he's gonna find the guy that's open every play. Someone's gonna be open. That's just the reality of the game.
Yeah.
I would love to see Will Fuller go to the Packers. I think that would be a nice little addition.
Yeah, that would be a good signing, but he just doesn't play ever. Like, I really like Will Fuller as a player. Don't get me wrong. And if he played 17 games with Green Bay, he's a 1,400-yard, 10-touchdown receiver.
Yeah.
If there's a guy out there,
low risk, high reward. I mean, how much are you going to pay the guy?
I still want OBJ, even if he doesn't start the season on time. I still want OBJ.
Yeah.
I think
Christian Watson can't be. You cannot rely on him to be.
I don't love him as wide receiver one.
There's a lot of pressure.
Yeah,
too much pressure to come in and replace Devontae. I don't love any of their receiver players right now. I know that most of them will still be good because Aaron Rodgers is throwing them the ball and they have a great offensive line and they'll have a good run game. But is Tanyan really the best receiving option on the team?
No, it's tough because
like Sammy Watkins might be.
Sammy Watkins, if he's healthy.
If he's healthy, but I feel like I don't know if you can rely on him to be healthy.
We all know is in week 1 is gonna drop 100 yards and catch 2 touchdowns.
And next week get hurt.
Sammy Watkins week 1 is just absurd, and then he's gonna get hurt and probably never play again, which is unfortunate.
Yeah,
he is like a low key good option for us. I really like Sammy Watkins just as like a 3, but not as a 1. And there is no clear cut wide receiver 1. Which
what's the problem with taking a flyer on Julio and OBJ right now?
I just don't. The longer they go unsigned, the more likely it is that one of them are Packers. I would have Jarvis Landry. I thought was going to get more money than $6 million for 1 year. $6 million for 1 year. I would have hopped on that. I thought it was going to be he wanted to break the bank. So
I did too.
I didn't.
But
know
also,
how
it probably depends. He probably would have wanted more from Green Bay just because he was going home.
Yeah, and Aaron Rodgers wants OBJ because every time the opportunities come up, He's
Yeah.
always wanted him. He wanted him last year. He wanted him when they traded him to the Giants, traded him to the Browns. I'm hoping they make that happen. I still think OBJ wants to get paid, which is the unfortunate part because it's
Yeah.
not going to be from us. I'd still, Julio would be nice. It just
I don't know about Julio.
the offensive focus needs to be AJ Dillon and Aaron Jones catching passes out of the backfield as another weapon too. So I just think Rodgers is going to be just as good. He's not going to win, probably not going to win MVP this year. He's not going to have those kind of numbers like he did. And Allen or Mahomes or Lamar or whoever you want is probably one of them is going to go off and win MVP because
Brady.
Maybe, but
Well,
I don't
Allen's the best
know.
quarterback in the NFL. So
I think this is the year Josh Allen wins MVP.
Brady.
It's not going to be Tom Brady.
I think he goes out with an MVP.
All right, go out with an MVP. Don't go out with a Super Bowl. I'll trade that.
No,
Yeah,
I have him losing to Buffalo.
I'll take that.
I have him beating Vegas.
Ooh.
Vegas.
How about that?
Vegas.
How about that?
I don't even have Vegas in my.
I'm really high on Vegas.
Vegas is
that,
my AFC number 1 seed.
they're
have
my
them just
5,
missing.
but I think Vegas got really a lot better this year. The Raiders.
I did too.
Unless
They did.
McDaniels sucks. I mean they don't have a bad position on their team. Interior offensive line kind of sucks, and their tackles could be better. But Devontae just makes them so much better on offense. He makes them so much
I
better.
can't wait to watch him. Like I don't have any ill will towards Devontae.
Yeah. And I think you guys, I think it was time too for the Packers. I really do.
The Devontae move is as much as it sucks. It almost gives me like I don't know, just I at least hope that things will be a little different because I don't want to trotting out the same exact team. I'd probably be like, all right, we'll win 13 games, but for what? Because we're gonna lose in the divisional or the championship anyway.
Yeah.
I just hopefully the offense can be a little bit different, and maybe we'll make the Super Bowl. I have a lot of faith in the Packers this year, winning 12, 13 games again, even without Devontae. I think the offense is going to be great, and I haven't even talked about the defense. I talked about the special teams. I talked about the offense. I love the defense.
Like they got a really good defense.
The defense last year was so good. I think this might be like the highest I've been on a defense since we won the Super Bowl. Like they're just so well rounded. I'm worried about the Jair extension. I don't know if it's going to happen. I hope it does.
Corners are replaceable though.
Yes, we have
Unfortunately,
corners
it's
are
great.
replaceable. I thought that's why they might draft one this year, but the fact that they didn't gives me hope that they'll sign him, and hopefully that gets done before the season. Bakhtiari will be back. I'm expecting I think Rashawn Gary is a low-key defensive player of the year candidate because he's up there in pressure rate and pressures with the elite of the elite, Myles Garrett, Chandler Jones, Max Crosby. He's got to get finished the sack. I think he's got to get finished the sack. I think he could be around 15 sacks this year. I think he's really good. But enough Packers talk. I just had to get my little NFL.
Yeah, of course.
My NFL spiel in after the always electrifying schedule release. I don't know why they make a whole event out of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really unnecessary.
It's annoying
It's
waiting.
too much.
But NFL football, it's so close but so far.
Roll it.
So close but so far.
Oh,
Now we start to hit a little bit of a dead zone here.
We do hit a dead zone. We're gonna get the last remaining few free agents, and that'll be pretty much it.
I'm looking forward to the Jets. They likely will sign one of Ogunjobi, Quan Alexander, Will Fuller because they've met with all of them in the last week. So
you get Ogunjobi. I mean, he was like you said. We were talking the other day. He's a 3-year, $40 million player. You get him for cheaper than that. It's a win. I don't
you
even
get him
care what the
for
physical
2 for
is.
12.
I don't even care what the physical is because he's a
Exactly.
good player.
Give him 2 for 12 with a 2-way opt out after next year. If he's not healthy, you get him off the books. If he has a chance at breaking the bank again, he can leave on his own. He's a great signing. He had the 32nd ranked run defense in the NFL last year, and the run defense was the reason you were terrible last year on defense. It wasn't the secondary really wasn't that bad. The run, you just got gashed in the run game. No matter how many guys were in the box. They got to work on that. I think they will. That's why I'm pretty high on the Jets front four this season
And
because
the Jets,
Saleh. This is why we hired Saleh to fix this culture, which he's already done because a lot of guys seem really happy to be here. And then now it's got to happen on the field.
The
So this is
Jets'
special.
first 8 games are brutal, but if they're in them, like,
If
if
you-
they're competing in
If we
them,
win
like,
4 of those first 8, that's huge.
Dude, I tell you, I got him. Like, I'm not trying to be the. You can call me
I think
biased
you
Jets
can
fan and
easily
everything,
win four.
which totally is fair. Calling me biased Jets fan, whatever it is, optimistic Jets fan. But me and Lenny, you could watch it from before. He gave me the realistic standpoint, which I agreed with. And then I gave you this is the optimistic Jets fan standpoint, which I don't agree with, but I just gave it to you anyways. I had the Jets starting the year 2-1.
Me too.
I have them starting the first 5 games 3-2. If they do that and then go into the bye at like 4-6, they have a breeze of a second half.
don't get me wrong, I think they can beat the Browns even with Watson.
that's tough.
It'd be really nice if they would.
Wait,
Oh, come on, Frank, beat it. Come on,
sorry.
man.
You said
Wait,
who else are we beating in the first 3 weeks?
You know what? I
2-2.
saw him beat the same Cincinnati team last year. I think Cincinnati's getting Super Bowl hangover this year. I'm low on Cincinnati. I am. I'm low on Cincinnati. I think Zach Taylor sucks.
We are home though. We are home.
So I really don't.
did you see?
I'm not gonna lie. After the first 4, I think we start 2-2. I think we can lose 4 straight to 5 straight.
I have us losing. I have us losing Green Bay, Denver, New England, Buffalo in 4 straight games.
Yeah.
It's gonna be up and down season.
Did you see what the NFL might do with
just
Deshaun
picked-
and suspend him next year?
Yeah.
And that would just
Yeah.
like kill the whole like salary thing that they structured. Like he'd
Yeah.
lose a bunch of money anyway. So
Oh,
the
we might have a
NFL
brawl here.
a brawl in the Yanks.
Dugouts are emptying. What's going on here? Cole just blew somebody away 100. IKF sucks. Can't field. Another error. Easy double play.
Cole
Oh,
bases
bullpen's
loaded.
bench-
That's not a
bench.
shock.
Yeah, he just he had a double play ball. IKF muffed it. Nobody out. He just struck him out 100. I think they picked off Anderson, but I guess Donaldson must have hit Anderson, and Anderson's pissed.
Okay. Good.
But
Good.
there's a ton to watch tonight, fellas. Like
Yeah.
this is an insane.
It's a great night.
sports night.
Yeah. If you guys ready to bounce out here,
I-
enjoy
Yeah.
our sports
I'm
night
gonna
here
go-
in New York.
I'm
Lot of
gonna
stuff
go
to
back
watch.
and catch up on everything you guys said in like the first 30 minutes. So
Yeah, make sure to get us on Twitter, Instagram.
yeah, a lot more active on Twitter now.
Now
and
that school's
Instagram
over,
soon.
a lot more
Donald's
active
doing
on
an
both.
incredible job on the Twitter.
Yeah.
It's
Thank
been
you. Thank
really nice.
Yeah, very nice. Round of applause.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Yeah,
All right.
Twitter's coming
Got
along
him.
nicely. So,
He's
I'm gonna
out.
get right back into the depths of Twitter as soon as we're off here.
yep. All right.
Fellas, good episode.
See you guys next week.
Yep.
Some exciting stuff starting up this summer
Oh, yeah.
for us now that we have some more free time with school over, all be in the same place. Make sure to stay tuned. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on TikTok. Jersey giveaway coming soon. We're just waiting to get all 3 of the social medias back in flux to start that and get that out. And then it'll work out. Thanks for watching. Subscribe, like it. Come back next week, same time.
All right.
Yes,
See you
sir.
guys, fellas.